system costs $49 trillion. It's economically better. And if you ever hear someone say, how are we going to pay for it? How about we ask you, how are we paying for our current system right now? That is literally $17 trillion more expensive than the one that they're trying to crap on and destroy and denounce and deny. That's not all. Buried way down at the end of the AP story is this little tidbit. The study found the U.S. healthcare spending under Sanders' plan would drop over time, about $300 billion lower in 2031. That's right. The AP emphasizes immediately after its lead that the trillion has a T, but doesn't think that this last point, that the bill would actually reduce our astronomical healthcare costs overall, not to mention the fact that it would cover everyone, merits a mention except as an afterthought near the very end. Not for nothing, but the AP story was picked up by CBS, ABC, Bloomberg, Time, and a slew of other local outlets, in addition to The Hill, Axios, and Fox News, which did their own similar write-ups, which means the very scary $32.6 trillion number overall got sprayed all over the internet with absolutely no context. Love it when the press does the GOP's work for them. Just the best. So yeah, it's going to cost $32.6 trillion with a T. That's so scary. It has a, you guys, you hear that? It has a T, not a B, not an M, but a T. And they just decided to put there in the end, like, what people are actually going to really read the whole article. They're totally, they always do that. So they decided to read that article. If they did, the plan would drop over time about $300 billion lower in 2031. But no one's telling anyone because no one thinks from that frame of mind, the frame of mind of some basic logic and some basic sense, that this bill would save us money. Like, no one seems to mention, like, how, like, the next logical step is, okay, how much does our healthcare system cost now? $49 trillion. Oh, $17 trillion saved. That's amazing. According to this Mercatus outlet study. But wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. The next logical step people are taking is, oh my gosh, we're going to go into communist society. Like, it's going to be like Antifa is ruling the world. Like, people just do not seem to think sensibly. Like, it's always, how are you going to pay for that? How are you going to pay for that? Then the next day, the next minute, we're spending $2 trillion in a war in Iraq. We're spending $2 trillion in a war in Iraq. We're spending huge amounts of money, more money than all our allies combined, the next 8 allies combined or something like that, in our defense. Which, like, I mean, I'm not saying we chop our defense spending in half or whatever, but we just don't need to increase it right now. I think we're all right. Maybe we cut a little bit out of it. Like, there's some big threat that faces our world right now. Like, we are really going to see a big, full-scale war. Like, that's going to happen. Well, maybe with John Bolton in office, it's possible. But anyway, yeah, so it's just, again, really some ridiculous stuff. But just people A, being misinformed, and B, not thinking about the way this is. Like, no one is telling anyone, like, that putting it in context is so important. Like, we have our healthcare system now. No one's getting covered. Do you see anyone who likes our current healthcare system? Obamacare, like, you want to look at the stats versus the people who are satisfied with the healthcare. We are paying less for worse care. It's a double negative. It's a lose-lose. Medicare for All has been proven time and time again to be a win-win. All you hear about in the media, people are just getting blasted into their ears 24/7. Medicare for All is not sustainable. It's bad. It's going to cost a lot of money. How are you going to pay for that? Here's the question. Can you why haven't you read anything about this yet? Like, this is such a BS talking point. I just can't even deal with anyone. It's just unbelievable that people are talking about it. So yeah, Matt Bruning of the People's Policy Project, a progressive think tank, wrote for Jacobin that the overall reduction in healthcare spending is even larger over the course of 10 years. So the report's methods are pretty straightforward. Blauhaus is the guy who wrote it, starts with the current projections about how much the country will spend on healthcare between 2022 and 2031. From there, he has the cost of the associated higher utilization of the medical services and subtracts the savings from lower administrative costs, lower reimbursements for medical services, and lower drug prices. After this bit of arithmetic, Blauhaus finds that the health expenditures would be lower for every year during the first decade of implementation. So it would just get better. Like the net change across the whole 10-year period is a savings of $2.054 trillion. So if you put that in perspective, it is some very, very good-looking stuff. We're saving money. We are saving a lot of money. And that money, believe it or not, is in the trillions. That is just some quite incredible stuff. So $2 trillion saved here, according to this conservative study. And I want to make the record straight here. $2 trillion. That's with a T. That's with a T. Yeah, so the Matt Bruni continues to say, when talking about Medicare for All, it's important to distinguish between two concepts, national health expenditures and federal health expenditures. National health expenditures refer to all health spending from any source, whether made by private employers, state Medicaid programs, or the federal government. It is national health expenditures that, according to the report, will decline by $2.054 trillion. That's trillion with a T, to quote the AP there. Yeah, this is a good example of the uphill battle the left faces in changing the narrative about social programs. Apart from the fact that some reporters are going to take the $32 trillion number at face value and absolutely provide no context, which, as we saw in the case, got spread via other outlets and with no context or fact, because journalists can be very dumb people sometimes. Which, as we saw in this case, got just blown out, and proven in a big way. Both political parties have spoken the language of deregulation and government reduction for so long that spending just doesn't seem to count when people give their money to health insurance companies for a service rather than the government. Pretty funny how that works. It's just such a crazy situation. People are tired of it. People don't want, there's two options people are willing to entertain right now. No one wants to entertain the establishment option, keep the way things are, and no one wants to change. Some people, very few people, want to talk about the libertarian option, which is pretty much just private health care. That is what we call. Someone in the background, my brother, who's in the other room, just laughed at a very ill-timed moment when I was talking about. Let's just say it was a very good, well-timed moment when I was talking about the libertarian healthcare system, because that is a system that is worse than anything we could possibly imagine. That is a system. If you want to talk about a system that's going to make people more unhappy with their healthcare, that is a system that's going to do it right there, right now, very easily. It's people just don't like that. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then there's the Medicare for All option. That option is going to make people covered. It's going to save money, get better health care, Medicare for All. That's what the tagline. That's what the tagline should be, because that's the truth. Unlike the GOP, we don't have to bend facts. We don't have to spin. We don't have to counter narrative. We don't have to put out some narrative. We don't have to craft some elaborate press strategy. No, we can just say the truth about our policies, and people, oh my gosh, maybe they'll start to like them, because people, not Republican politicians, but people actually, when they see the government getting funded, when you're in the world of Beltway people, I know some Beltway people who have concerns of America kind of disproportionately mapped out. If you went into, it's pretty simple. This is one of the live on show Googles we love to do, live on the air show Googles we like to do. Things Americans are concerned about. Let's talk about the deficit. This is I'm going to find the most recent one. January 6th, 2018. Data from Gallup poll, internal and external. Let's see. 8 is terrorism. 7 is unemployment. 6 is the economy. 5 is national unity, so us being together. Immigration, racism, healthcare, government, and poor leadership. I wonder where the deficit is. Oh, it's nowhere, because people don't care about the deficit. They care about living better lives. Like, no one, like, people say, oh my gosh, that big thing in New York City that says, this is our national debt. Like, sure, that's bad, but, like, people are like, oh, that's not very good. We should pay back our debt. Then people go back to their homes and realize, my healthcare sucks. A lot of people are unemployed. The economy's hanging by a thread. Like, the economy's not very good. Like, people's real-life concerns start to become prioritized, because this is such a misleading, disgusting issue. That people, this is probably out of anything, and which is sad, because it's people's life and death. Like, this is a life and death situation. This is an issue that has the most spin, the most counter narratives, the most counter arguments, the most false rumors and misstatements out there out of anyone, because people just don't know the issue. They don't know what they're talking about when it comes to medical, socialized medicine. Like, people, like, literally everyone. Like, I love when people say to me, oh my gosh, ask my British friend how they like their universal health care. Some people have to wait. Some people have to wait for the health care. Yeah, but look at the polls. They all love their health care. Like, you can't just ask two people. That's dumb idea. Yeah, so anyway, speaking of dumb ideas, the New York Times, they got played. New York Times publisher A.G. Sulzberger, joined by his atrocious opinions page editor, James Bennett. Talk about a guy who should be fired. Like, talk about a new direction for America. The New York Times opinion page. That's trash. Recently met with President Donald Trump for a meeting, and that, at his request, was off record. Then the Times got played because no one ever learns. Trump doesn't care. There's no rules. Journalists were shocked, just shocked, when Trump leveraged the fact that that the meeting was held off the record to broadly lie about what was being discussed on his Twitter feed on Sunday. He said, had a very good and interesting meeting at the White House with A.G. Sulzberger, publisher of the New York Times, spent much time talking about the vast amounts of fake news being put out by the media, how that fake news has morphed into the phrase, "among the people," said. Yeah, so this act of aggression could not stand. So Sulzberger, and to me, this surprised, because out of all news organizations, when it comes to fighting back against criticism from the other side, the proverbial other side, like people who are criticizing them, no one is less aggressive than the New York Times. Like, it goes, maybe MSNBC, but when it comes back to, like, literally, they're, like, if someone does something, this is how it works in MSNBC. If you don't know this, this is how it works. So first, someone says something, they get criticized for it by the left, by the right. And if someone criticizes them from the left, you think they're going to listen? No. But yeah, if someone, like, for example, this is a few years ago, but there's this anchor on MSNBC who said pretty much someone should defecate on Sarah Palin, because that's what, she compared something to slavery or something. It was just some, like, offhand comment that he apologized for. He apologized for again. He apologized for again. He apologized for again. And then MSNBC, Joe Scarborough of Morning Joe, the very same, goes to Phil Griffin, who's the head of MSNBC, says, fire that guy. Phil Griffin says, okay. Like, that's how it works in MSNBC. New York Times people just like, we have to stay neutral and report the truth, because the truth is the most important thing. We need to report the truth because only the truth. We only do the truth. Like, shut up. Anyway, yeah, so this act of aggression here could not stand. So Sulzberger, and I'm very surprised about this, responded with a statement saying the meeting was meant to address Trump's deeply troubling anti-press rhetoric. I told the president directly that I thought his language was not just divisive, but increasingly dangerous. He's also said in a statement which goes on for nearly another 200 words. But why, you ask, aren't the cries of, but sir, excuse me, sir, from the Times boy king critical to the discourse? No, because he lost. He lost as soon as he agreed to take an off-the-record meeting